Well, I just became aware of a PowerPoint presentation that was done by the U.S. Army for extreme religious people in the United States that are deemed to be kind of like terrorists or something. I don't know. That's what they're saying. And they got in there, like they say, what the extremists are is like Protestants, Catholics, Orthodox Jews, Islam, Muslim, and also Islamophobia. That's an extremist. I'm thinking to myself, who the hell is making up this crap? That's the Army, not the Marine Corps now, anyway, right? Marine Corps wouldn't do something that stupid. No way. Hopefully not. But the one thing I always keep wondering with these people who are pulling these policies, because it's somebody behind the scenes telling the military what to do. Like Henry Kissinger derogatorily called the military a bunch of animals. That's what he calls them. And I guess that's probably what the elitists think of the military as. Dumb animals. Just like Henry Kissinger calls them. So hopefully the military wakes up and says, hey, we don't want to get used like a bunch of chumps. Because if there's one religion the military should be on 100% the side of, it's not really a religion. It's called the old Bill of Rights. Especially like the First and Second Amendment, essentially. Well, the First Amendment says the government shall not prohibit the free exercise of religion or establish a religion. Either one. You don't get involved in it. So there should be no... and it's like actually they're saying all these people, traditional religions, are extremists. It was in the PowerPoint presentation. I'll post a link on the bottom of the info box. And they list a whole pile of things. And they say they're homegrown terrorists. I'm like, get the hell out of here. That's crazy. I'm telling you, man, they're just freaking control freaks. Everybody's going to be a homegrown terrorist, man. I mean, maybe you'll be a terrorist because you have the religion that you believe in, Ford Motor Company, like Mustang. Some people worship Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson. I mean, it's just like a religion, right? Same thing, man. Going to church on Sunday, go out for the ride. Anyway, that's what it is. But I don't know how this actual setup's going to continue. A lot of people have a lot of conjecture about a major collapse coming in the dollar too. I'm going to kind of ad lib on this a little bit because of what's going on with all the fiat money printing and the amount of dollars that are out there in circulation in the world. And a lot of people, like BRICS nations, are making trade agreements in between each other. Well, you know what that means? If the dollar collapses, the actual army and all these people that are supposed to be enforcing all these draconian things that they got dreamed up or somebody dreamed up for them, they're not going to get paid, or they're going to get paid in wampum paper. You know what I mean? If the dollar collapses. That's one reason I don't think the dollar is going to collapse all the way, because the guys on the top are the shrewdest devils in the world. And they don't have like total control over everything. They can maybe, but they're pretty shrewd, man. They're like 12 cats in one. So 12 times 9, it's 72 lives or something, or whatever the hell it is, 84 lives. they're slick. So I don't know if it's going to completely fall apart. Actually, I want to ad lib here a little bit too. I was watching a little bit of Jim Kaminsky's Metals or something on one of his YouTube videos. He's talking about gold prices, and the central banks haven't bought this much gold since 1964, and that Goldman Sachs is saying for their customers basically to sell it more or less because they're forecasting low prices. I pointed something out on that before because, well, I don't trust Goldman Sachs. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they are good. It's no bullshit. They ain't stupid. But there's, how the deal is. Card game. But the one thing I said before that doesn't agree with the lower forecast in gold prices is the higher, is telling all the people to go into the oil industries and commodity industry, especially like potash and stuff related to agriculture, stuff that comes out of the ground, but especially like the oil industry, because gold and oil are fairly closely correlated. It just doesn't jive. So they're telling you to do one thing, and then all of a sudden they flipped on the other thing. It's almost like they should be bearish on oil then too. So, but you know how that deal works. You can't really physically store the oil the way you can physically store the gold. So that's what's going on. But if the gold prices shoot through the roof, like drastically like in the Weimar Republic, which they're not. They're going to go up. But I'm going to tell you this. longer range. Actually, all this stuff is going to happen under the Obama administration. I think it's all. I mean, maybe it's going to be the last president if it gets that bad. I don't know. Maybe, man, that would be crazy if he was. But I don't think the United States will fall apart that fast. But the stuff with the metals is going to actually happen under the Obama administration. It's probably, maybe why they allowed him in there, because he'll be the scapegoat, because everybody be blaming the old dictator Obama, but basically he's a Manchurian candidate and they own him, right? He's Uncle Tom Obama because he goes along with it, but you got no choice, man. But I think 2014 is going to be a spike in the metals, big time, maybe even a little bit this year, and also 2017, all within the time allotted for Obama. But eventually the gold is going to get so, I swear to God, this is what's going to happen. The gold is going to get so far ahead of itself. And then at some point in time, the central banks are going to be flipping it for something else. And you should too. But basically, when they dump it on the market, they're going to be dumping it on the middle class. It's going to eventually be the ultimate middle class wealth trap. Gold and silver. Eventually. Hell no, not now. Eventually, when it gets, the guys that say it's going to stay forever, where you could take 10 ounces of silver and buy yourself a new car, or a roll of silver coins or something, or 20 ounces of silver and buy a new car. That's maybe there's going to be one day that happens or something, like for 3 hours or some shit. But it ain't going to happen like that and stay like that. That's for sure. That's for sure. So, a lot of crazy things coming up. The Army's actually I don't know if this is one section of the Army. I don't know. I'll tell you what, these guys, people in uniform ought to wise up, man. I know a lot of times they don't give a shit. Sometimes, it depends on who it is. They don't give a shit because it's like direct deposit, baby. That's what they think of, direct deposit. They didn't say the thing, say what they got to say to get their direct deposit. Do what they got to do to get their direct deposit. Cut off box tops from Captain Crunch cereal to get your next rank, or whatever you got to do. I mean, sometimes it's like that. But, the thing is, they can very easily be betrayed. Because actually, if you think about it, if you want me to bring something up a little more controversial, or a lot more controversial, look at old little Bin Laden, right? Now, when Bin Laden died, actually I think it was in 2001 in December, because it was like some Pakistani general said he died back then. It made more sense. He had diabetes. He was living in a cave. You're bombing the shit out of him. He probably died of something, right? Then, basically, supposedly the final time he officially died was when this Navy SEAL team went after him, like, what is it, a year ago or something? Don't even have the exact date in front of me. But everybody pretty much that was involved in that, when he had the one helicopter crash, everything's going wrong with these guys. They're all dead. So, hopefully the military are going to figure out, because they're not stupid. They're going to get set up and betrayed. So, if there's one religion that the military should stick with, it's this. And this is like, I call this the Marine Corps religion. The Bill of Rights. That means you got, especially, right to free press, number one, right? Right to bear arms on an individual basis, and everybody has the right to security and everything like that. And they're in there, but the Bill of Rights is in there to protect your ass against control freaks. And people that want to use the American people like a bunch of chumps, basically. That's really what it is. And the elite want to use the military like a bunch of chumps. Having studied the Roman Empire a little bit here and there, actually I used to study it a lot. God, I could tell you, man, I swear it's like age-old bullshit. The elite are stupid, man. It's going to come back on their ass, and they may lose control. The only reason they're in control is because they still got a bunch of brain dead zombies in the United States going along with the bullshit. That's a lot of it right there. But they're not. A lot of people aren't really thinking too well. But if you got gold, hang on your gold, baby, because I'm going to tell you, it's not just going to go up in dollars. It's going to go up relative to other assets, because when the panic sets in, then all the chumps that didn't think about it now and thinking it's such a bad deal right now and it's never going anywhere right now, then they're going to figure it out, and actually it's going to go past that. They're going to probably be the ones buying it then. So, anyway, that's all I got to say as far as, with gold in the Army, because and the dollar, don't be too afraid, to sell gold, because I don't see the dollar going to total oblivion right away. At least definitely not in the next few years, because I think it's going to start dropping. But if it went to oblivion, they wouldn't be able to pay the army and anybody like the Homeland Security that all these control freaks want to pay. So because they got to pay them, that's the only way it keeps them in line. You know, nobody. Actually, the way it goes now with the total volunteer army and military, a lot of it is military perks. I mean, yeah, it doesn't happen that way like when you really get screwed up. But I mean, but once a lot of people don't expect to get in a situation when they join. They don't know what's going to happen. They might think it, they might not, or if they want to do that, they want to get in a crazy situation where they get whacked and shit. They don't know what they want to get into. That's a fact. But the thing is, the dollar probably is never going to go to total oblivion unless the U.S. military totally loses a bad war someplace, and that's how it can go to oblivion. But for now, it looks like they're trying to task the U.S. military with new domestic extremists and terrorists, which is anybody that's like some kind of belongs to some kind of religion. They got a list. I'll show you the article. They got a list. It includes like Orthodox Jews, Roman Catholics, Christians, Muslims, Islam, Hindu, and also, which was kind of crazy, they had Islam and Muslims. They also had Islamophobia, like that was a religion. I'm thinking, wow. So anybody even has an opinion on anything is an extremist. Which I don't really get into a lot of that shit, but the one thing I really like harp on a lot though is the Bill of Rights. In other words, that's more or less the laissez-faire. Everybody is allowed to do their own thing as long as they don't violate anybody else's rights. I think that's the only basic rule I super go by a lot. But I don't know, it looks like the Army's being told to do this shit, because I can almost guarantee it wasn't the Army that dreamed it up. It's some elitist. And I just got to remind people in the Army, if anybody sees this, the elitists don't give a shit about you, man. They don't. They'll think you're fucking cannon fodder or some shit, really. They don't give a shit. So, if they tell you to do something, and, they tell you to do all this rotten stuff, just say, yeah, I did it. And don't do it. Take the money and run. It's the better way to be. Be smart. Be shrewd.